What's up guys, Rich here with Towson Watch Company's Skipjack. And it's in 40.5 millimeters, 47 lug to lug. It's 10 millimeters tall, and it uses a 20 millimeter strap width. So Towson watches started in 2000 by two legendary watchmakers, Hartwig Belke and George Thomas. And while they remain very active with the company and still remain as the lead watchmakers, Towson Watches is now being led by Spencer Shattuck and Taylor Klassen. And I've gotten to spend some quality time with both Spencer and Taylor, and I can tell you that the team that they have at Towson Watches is a very formidable team, and I think they are primed to take over the American watch space. So Towson Watches basically has three collections: the Limited, the Mission, and the Masterpiece. And the Skipjack falls under their Limited collection. And Towson Watches is based out of Baltimore, Maryland. They are as an American watch brand as you can get. So when I'm looking at this watch, I can look at this watch and still not know what time it is. Meaning I can stare at this watch, not necessarily to check the time. I'm looking at this watch because of just how gorgeous this watch is. And when I'm looking at the dial, and I'm trying to give you a good example of why, I think that's a pretty good example. I really like the applied, highly polished Roman numerals here. So before I start talking about all the details of the Skipjack, I want to spend some time on what does it mean to be an American watch brand. I mean, that can be very vague and can have very loose terms, and a lot of people can use that to fit the narrative. So what does that mean, for example? Does that mean some young and up-and-coming watchmaker who has dreams of starting a watch company conceived of the idea at the local Starbucks and then decided to tinkle around with that in his one-bedroom apartment? Maybe. But that's not at all what Towson Watches is. They are as an American watch brand as we can get. So I'm going to compare a little bit with Breyer's Ice Cream, because Breyer's Ice Cream touts themselves as having three simple ingredients: milk, sugar, and cream. And that's sort of what Towson Watches is, but instead of ingredients, we're talking about the countries of origins. So they basically have three countries of origins: Germany, Switzerland, and the US, where the watches are QC'd or quality controlled in Baltimore, Maryland. So nothing about this watch has, or the components are made in China. And I don't mean to overgeneralize made in China, because I think they have some wonderful parts that come out of China, but I think we can agree that made in China doesn't carry the same prestige or cachet that Swiss made does, or made in Japan does, or made in Germany does. So if we were wondering about that, well, the transparency is very clear that Towson Watches only uses components from Germany and Switzerland while being put together in the US. So, you know, the US is a great manufacturing country, but we're not quite there with developing watch components the way that the Swiss are, or Japan is, or Germany is. What we are really good at is sourcing the right components from the proper countries. But what we're really good at is crafting the watch, hand assembling the watch and putting it together. And I think that's what Towson Watch does really well, is assembling this watch and putting it together in Baltimore. They just do a lot of things properly with their watch. So let's spend a little bit more time now talking about the Skipjack itself. We're not going to be able to notice this unless we're looking for it, but at the very top of the 24-hour scale, it says Towson Watch Company. That branding would typically be below 12 o'clock where the logo is, and the Skipjack, the model, would normally be above 6 o'clock where it says GMT and automatic. But the date window is at the traditional 3 o'clock position, and it is a matching date window. So what Towson Watches does is they do some eclectic designs with a very classic design. So I think it comes together really nice. I just really like that 24-hour scale, and then that center dial. It's just tastefully done, beautiful to look at, and I think you understand why I like that. So when I'm talking about the different countries of origins, the case is made in Germany, the dial is Swiss made, the hands are Swiss made, the movement is Swiss made, it is the ETA 2893 automatic movement, and a genuine alligator strap is made in Germany. So those are your simple components that go into every Towson watch. And I think just that dial is just really tastefully done, really great. I like that splash of red on their logo with the tip on the GMT hand. It comes together really nicely. You can tell that this watch was made by experienced watchmakers. I really like those hands too. You can tell that this watch there's no way that an inexperienced or new watchmaker designed or put together this watch. It's just very classy all around. So it is a GMT, so we will control the GMT hand by just pulling the crown out into the first position and start rotating it clockwise. And we can see that it doesn't, while we're doing that, it does not disrupt or interrupt the main time zone. Another element of the case, if we haven't already noticed, is that it has this coin edge design pattern throughout the case. And while I am not typically a fan of the coin edge on the bezel, I actually don't mind it along the edge of the case because it adds a little bit of a panache. So I think I'm fine with it as it is. And if we return back to the dial, we can notice above each of the Roman numerals, we can see the loom pipped because that's where it's loomed, as well as on the hour and the minute hand. And this is in the white, but it's also available in black. And I think when we start talking about American watches, probably two brands come to mind would have to be RGM and Weiss. And while I have nothing against them, I like those watches and I've reviewed them. I think Towson Watches is really primed to take over that American space because I think there is much more visibility going on with Towson Watches. And they have some really exciting models. For some reason, the other two brands that I cited, we don't really hear much about them the way that we are starting to hear more about Towson Watches. As long as Towson Watches continues to build on that momentum, I think they are really in a really great position. So I think the paradigm has shifted because of more visibility and some exciting new models. Again, I can't really disclose those new models coming out, but Towson Watch is just really headed into the right direction. Their watches are not in a couple $100 range. These are high-end watches. They are heirloom watches. So I think transparency is very important for a brand, especially when they are touting themselves as an American watch brand. In fact, we can take a tour at the Towson showroom or studio in Baltimore, and we can see everything that goes into the watchmaking of our watch. So I think that kind of transparency and the components and the origins of the watches really goes a long way. Not only do they use the top grade 2893 movement, it's fully decorated, it's also regulated in-house. So it's not just a stock movement that they slap into the case. And accuracy-wise, I've been getting plus 2 to 3 seconds a day, which is well within the COSC standards of minus 4 seconds to plus 6 seconds a day. So every component, everything that goes into the Towson watch is just first rate, really great quality, including the strap. So this is on the brown alligator, but originally when I was interested in the watch, I was thinking about the black alligator strap. So let me take a look here. So I think the black adds a little bit more of a classic look to it, but there it is in black. The brown alligator, black. I still like the black, but I think this brown alligator is a little more of a contemporary look, and it's really grown on me. But at some point, I'm thinking I might want to change out to the black alligator. And while I've been wearing this brown alligator, it's still legible on the back of the strap, but I think it might be a little bit easier to see the details on this unworn strap. Towson, there's a branding, and then the widths, and then genuine alligator made in Germany. So another really quality strap here by Towson Watch. And then they have a lot of other straps too. In addition to the alligator, they have it in cordovan and calf. So it's, a strap just makes all the difference in the look of a watch. When I talk about these watches being heirloom quality and being that good, here's their chop tank that I reviewed quite a while ago. And this one uses the 7753 automatic movement. This has just been constantly in my rotation. Just a wonderful watch. And we can tell, I'm trying to show you both of them side by side because these are just really high-end quality watches that are really heirloom pieces. The chop tank has been serving me really well, and the skipjack has been serving me well as well. If there's one thing worth noting, is that while this is water resistant to 50 meters, it is not a screw down crown. But this is also not the type of watch that we would take into the water. So in the rain, if we wanted to go from our car to the grocery store or to the office, we'll be just fine with that, but that's just worth noting. Another area I want to touch on is that Towson is now really emphasizing their custom portfolio, customizing their watches. So for example, if I wanted that Towson Watch Company branding in a different font and at the more traditional 12 o'clock position with the skipjack at the more traditional 6 o'clock position, I could have that done. If I wanted a gold case instead of the steel case, I could get that done. So there are a lot of different opportunities for us, and I've really got a chance to enjoy a sneak peek of what they do for the client, and I think it's really fascinating. So whenever our watch brand offers a full customization to their portfolio, more than just one or two minor tweaks, then I think it really presents a great opportunity and something for us to think about. The retail price for the skipjack varies from approximately $2,400 to $2,500 depending on the strap. As it is on this alligator strap, it's approximately $2,500. So if we're looking for that American watch brand and with a really nice GMT model, then I think this skipjack is definitely worth our attention. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you the next time. Hartwood Belke and George Thomas. And then they had started growing, and now the brand, while they still have the blah, blah,